This dunya is surrounded by desires, all kinds of desires that may pull you away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we remain strong? How can we be firm when we're surrounded by things that are distracting us and taking us away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And how do we deal with a sin if we're confronted with a sin? Well, we learned this from Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam when he was confronted with the wife of the Aziz. The wife of the Aziz was, of course, a very, very beautiful woman. She was, after all, the wife of one of the most respected individuals of Egypt. And the thing was, she wanted to commit fornication or an adultery with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. She wanted to commit adultery with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. And she closed all the doors. And she says, وَقَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ. And she said, هَيْتَ لَكَ. It means I prepared myself, come to me. And she is the one that's asking to commit this sin. And so Prophet, what do you do in such a situation? And what did Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam do in such a situation? Well, we learn what Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam says. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. Ma'adh Allah means I seek refuge in Allah, the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first lesson is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. If you're confronted with sins, the first thing you should do is remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing you should do is remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't overestimate your piety in thinking that you're able to do it by yourself. No, only with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are you going to be able to avoid sins. So remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ, and seek refuge in Allah. إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ. He says, Prophet Yusuf then says, إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ. Indeed my Lord. إِنَّهُ Allah. إِنَّهُ رَبِّي here means indeed He, my Lord, Allah, أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ, has provided so much comfort for me, has given me so much blessings. So the second thing you should do is think about some of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you. When you think about the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you, then it should inshallah help you abstain from sins. Why? Because you realize that the eyes that you have to look at, that no one can replace if you were to lose them. These eyes are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how could you use such a great blessing bestowed upon you by Allah to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And how could you use these ears that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you to listen to that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And how could you use the health that you have, your feet that Allah has given you, when others might not have the same blessings that you have? How can you disobey a Lord that has been so merciful to you? So think about the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you. And this is one of the lessons that we learn in Surah Yusuf. And then later on, next, what does he say next? He says, إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَايَ إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Indeed, surely, those who do wrong, those who oppress themselves and others, those who do evil deeds will never be successful. So you think about the end result. Do not trade a temporary pleasure for eternal suffering. And that's why when you have this mindset, when you're confronted with sins, inshallah it should help you to abstain from sins. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and purify our souls and our hearts, and keep us strong and firm upon the path and upon the religion of Islam and upon the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa jazakumullahu khairan wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.